Savion Hider, Craig Tutt, Brayden Rouse, just a couple of the around 20 players who will be taking OVs to Tennessee this weekend. Who does Tennessee need to work on the most? That and so much more. It's your Friday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Friday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols, your starts to the weekend, your tailgate for the weekend. Appreciate you guys for being here and making Locked On Vols your first listen each and every single morning, your first watch on YouTube. You know, we're free and available wherever you find your podcast, so please subscribe and download these episodes. Everydayers could not do this show without you, and of course, we're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. Big shout out to our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook, where right now new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Shout out to FanDuel Sportsbook. Fun show coming up today. Going to set the scene for, I say this about the Memorial Day recruiting weekend, the biggest recruiting weekend of the year, and I'm going to stand by that. This is the biggest recruiting weekend in June. Like last weekend was 16. This weekend's going to be around 20. Tennessee backloads those OVs every single year to try to get the cream of the crop in here the last couple of weeks of the June official visit slate. And this weekend's going to be huge. A lot of highly profile prospects on campus that Tennessee needs to win some of these battles with. Going to set the scene for that in segment number one. Segment number two, not a very good day for Tennessee recruiting on Wednesday. You had a wide receiver decommit from your class and a local prospect commit to South Florida when he was absolutely a take here at Tennessee. That's coming up in segment number two. And then segment number three, Tennessee, a top 10 team and yet another ranking system. This one's looking into the future a little bit per ESPN. We'll get into that here in a moment in segment number three. All that and more here on your Friday show. So Tennessee's set to host about 20 official visitors this weekend. Don't have the official list yet right now at the time of this recording, but I do know some of the headliners who, again, are planning on being here. And you know, sometimes you have a list, some don't show up, some make last-minute changes, some can't make it. So this is all, of course, subject to change. But, you know, 5 guys that I want to highlight that are going to be taking their official visit here this weekend that Tennessee really needs to make a move with is as follows. Running back Savion Hider, safety Craig Tutt, linebacker Brayden Rouse, edge Hezekiah Harris, and offensive lineman Brandon Anderson. Again, we've talked about these guys before. Again, like, recruiting nowadays is a year-round event. You come in the fall for a game, okay? You come back for a junior day. You come back for a spring practice. You come back for the 865 Live event on Memorial Day weekend. Then you come back for an official visit. Okay, so a lot of these times, this is the 4th, 5th, 6th, sometimes 7th time these guys have been on campus, right? And so, again, that's just kind of the nature of Division I Power 4 recruiting. And still, they're all important because what they're doing here at Tennessee, a lot of times they're doing at other programs as well. Savion Hider, the headliner this weekend, 5-star running back, the number 1 ranked running back in the class, okay? Number one ranked prospect out of the state of Virginia, number 12 nationally according to On3, number 11 according to the On3 industry rankings, 5 foot 11 and a half, 200 pounds. Again, this is the ranking-wise the best running back in the class. And Tennessee's been in this one from day one. Tennessee's been right up there, and I would call it a Tennessee-Michigan battle right now. And, you know, he went on an official visit last weekend to, went on the official visit last weekend to Michigan, went on one to Georgia in early June. At the end of April, went to one on Ohio State. So this will be his 5th official visit coming to Tennessee this weekend. And, you know, really, really looking forward to seeing what happens in this regard. I think it's a Tennessee-Michigan battle, in my opinion. I think Tennessee has a real shot at landing him. He's going to, have a big-time name, image, and likeness offer on the table, regardless of where he goes. There was a report from Pete Nakos over at On3 earlier this week that, anywhere from $600 to $800 or $500 to $800, $1,000 or whatever is kind of what he's hearing in terms of the offers that are on the table. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I mean, he is a very, very good player, and Tennessee has been in this one and kind of, had a relationship with this one, the entire way. So Savion Hider's a guy that Tennessee has got to really knock it out of the park with this weekend. Another one is in-state prospect from Oakland High School in 4-star safety Craig Tutt. Craig Tutt, the On3 industry rankings has him at number 204 in the cycle. On3 specifically has him at 109. The 9th-ranked player in the state, the 5th-ranked player in the state, the 9th-ranked safety in the class. 6 foot, about 180 again, Murfreesboro, Tennessee, from Oakland High School. That's where, of course, DeJuan Morris came from. Tennessee had a signee there in the last cycle. Craig Tutt, it's been a Tennessee-Ole Miss battle for the last couple of weeks, right? Tennessee-Ole Miss, Tennessee-Ole Miss. Craig Tutt already took an official visit to Ole Miss. That was last weekend. He went to Auburn earlier in June, and now he's set to visit Tennessee this weekend. In-state guy. That's not anything's a given. We'll touch on that with Iverson Garcia in segment number 2, but Craig Tutt really, really likes the Tennessee Volunteers. Likes Ole Miss as well, and Tennessee's certainly going to have to make a move with Craig Tutt this weekend. So Craig Tutt is coming in this weekend. Savion Hider's coming in this weekend. Let's get down to the state of Georgia, Marietta, where one of the better linebackers in the entire cycle, and Brayden Rouse, is set to come back to campus. Again, Brayden Rouse has been to Tennessee a ton. He was at Texas last weekend. I think that's the biggest competition for him. Was at Michigan earlier in the month. Was at Alabama over Memorial Day weekend, or I guess it was the last weekend of May. And he was at Tennessee the weekend before that for the A65 Live. He's been to Tennessee a ton. And again, On3 Industry Rankings has him as a prospect number 100, the 7th-ranked linebacker, 10th-ranked prospect in the state of Georgia that is just littered with prospects. On3 has him at 155 nationally. 247 has him at 66 nationally in terms of a prospect. Rivals has him at 83. Really, really good-looking prospect, 6'3", 205, inside linebacker. And again, I think this is a Tennessee-Texas battle, but we'll see what happens. Again, this is why you want to backload these official visits. You want to get the last say in. You want to get the last face-to-face conversation in. You want to have Tennessee campus, East Tennessee, be the last thing that they see, okay, before the dead period and before you go in and you start kind of making these decisions. So Brayden Rouse could be on campus. The next one I'm going to highlight here is an Auburn commit right now, and Hezekiah Harris, 6'5", 230 pounds. Again, a guy that's been to Tennessee quite a bit here lately. He was at Florida last weekend. He took his official to Auburn the last weekend of May, and of course, he's been committed to Auburn for quite some time. Good-looking prospect, all right? 6'5", 230, as I mentioned, that Leo spot. On3 Industry Rankings has him as a 4-star, prospect number 105 in the cycle, 15th edge, 7th player out of the state of Alabama. On3 has him as prospect number 149. That's actually the highest. 247 has him at 103. ESPN 130, and Rivals at 97. So he's the top 100 player in the country by Rivals. Of course, we know On3 and Rivals are merging or joining forces here at the end of this month, 1st of July. So looking forward to that, of course. Hezekiah Harris is a guy that Tennessee really likes. Tennessee's been coveting. Tennessee wants on campus as much as possible. Again, he was on campus for an official visit back in April. I believe he was here for the A65 Live. It doesn't have it written down in his profile here, but I'm pretty sure he was here for the A65 Live as well. Could be wrong. But a guy that they have a lot of importance in and really need to knock it out of the park to try to get him to get away from his commitment to Auburn. I think it's obviously if he's going to flip, I think it's going to Tennessee outside of Auburn, where he's been committed for quite some time now. I mean, he was committed to Auburn since last July. So again, giving him something to think about. But when you think about Leo body types, 6'5", 230, boy, that's a great starting point. That is a great starting point. Put on 15 to 20 more pounds of muscle there. Whoo! Man, you talk about a guy that's a force, long, length, athleticism, speed, off the edge, finesse. That is Hezekiah Harris. So looking forward to seeing what Tennessee can do with him this weekend. Last one I want to highlight is a former Tennessee commit on the offensive line, and Brandon Anderson. I'm not going to lie to you. Feel like his recruitment's been all over the map a little bit, okay? He was committed to Tennessee for quite some time, decommitted. Florida's been a team in the running. Georgia's been a team in the running. Some other teams have been, very much involved there. He took an official visit to Georgia, it looks like at the end of May. Take an official visit to Tennessee here this weekend. He's been to Alabama a couple of times. 6'5", 335 from, again, another Georgia boy from Kennesaw, North Cobb High School. Top 500 rated prospect. A guy that, fits this offense pretty well. I mean, there's a reason why he was committed for so long and still values Tennessee very, very much up there. Just kind of wanted to open up his options. But former Tennessee commit Brandon Anderson, who's still, again, very much considering the Tennessee Volunteers, will be on campus for an official visit this weekend. So there's going to be a ton more, okay? There's going to be potentially about 15 more. But those are kind of the 5 that I wanted to highlight here on a Friday show. So when you're tuning in Sunday afternoon or Monday and you want to hear update, how did these guys fare on campus? What do they say? Kind of be scanning for some of these names that I think Tennessee needs to make some big moves with. So massive weekend of recruiting coming up for the Volunteers. Not the best Wednesday for the Volunteers. What do I mean by that? Well, you had a decommitment and you had a local prospect that elected to commit somewhere else. interesting enough. We'll get into that here as we continue on with the Friday Locked On Vols. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. The Stanley Cup playoffs, Stanley Cup Finals just ended, actually. Major League Baseball happening right now. Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot, a walk-off home run, a game-winning slap shot, whatever, breakout players and trends and all that and more, there's never been a better time to get in all the action than over at FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel Sportsbook makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. College football is right around the corner, guys. We continue to get closer and closer and closer. Win totals are out there, Heisman odds, CFP odds, all that and more. You can find those over at FanDuel Sportsbook. You can check it all out right now. It's the perfect time to sign up. Head on over to FanDuel.com. Place your first $5 bet. If it wins, okay, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Again, your first $5 bet. If it wins, you're going to receive $200 in bonus bets over at FanDuel Sportsbook and FanDuel.com. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Where there's a lot of optimism for this weekend in terms of Tennessee recruiting, Wednesday wasn't the best day, okay? It just simply wasn't. Kind of late in the day, you had a player that was committed for a couple of months, decommits, and then you had a local prospect from nearby Powell High School elect to commit to South Florida. We'll first get into Tyron Evans, his decision to decommit from the University of Tennessee. It feels like Miami is going to be that landing spot. Feels like eventually Miami is going to win that flip. That's just kind of the talk and kind of the chatter going on right now. He also took official visits to Kentucky, NC State. He came off that OV from Miami last weekend, that being Tyron Evans. Tyron Evans, again, not a highly ranked guy, right? Nationally, according to the On3 industry rankings, 540, 82nd wide receiver ranked in the class, and 25th in the state of North Carolina, where he is from the Charlotte area. But the staff loved him. The staff thought he could play. The staff did not want to lose him. Like, they thought that he was kind of one of those diamonds in the rough. And ultimately, decommitted from Tennessee right now. We'll see if that changes, if Tennessee can get him back or whatever the case is. But, a 3-star rated prospect, 4-star rated prospect per On3, Tyron Evans has decommitted from the University of Tennessee. So a guy they didn't want to lose. The other guy that I want to highlight here is Iverson Garcia. Iverson Garcia is, again, kind of one of those diamonds in the rough, right? Not one of those highly ranked players. I was talking about him last weekend when he was in on his official visit and kind of talking about how Tennessee, wants to land guys like that. And people were saying that, I stargazing comments and all that, again, is what it is. This is a guy that Tennessee wanted. He was a take. Rodney Gardner really liked him. Okay? So, just because he's not got a lot of stars doesn't mean he doesn't have value. There's plenty of stories about those guys that go on and be successful and go on and do some great things in college. But overall, the blue chip ratio, I understand that argument. I'm not disputing it. But, Iverson Garcia, I've seen some comments like, oh, who cares? He was a 3-star. Who cares? Who cares? Well, Rodney Gardner cares. Rodney Gardner was a guy that followed him around at spring practice for a couple hours. And, it's right here in town. You're able to just drive over there. But, watch tape with him on its official visit last weekend. Kind of showed him how he would fit in the defense and everything. If Rodney Gardner, who has put more guys in the NFL than a lot of coaches in this profession has, especially at the defensive line position, see some value there, then, I think that he could have added some value to Tennessee. And again, who knows? Maybe in December you can pull him back. Maybe this day and age, you know how it is. You go and you play a year somewhere else. Maybe you want to enter the transfer portal and come home, right? We see it all the time. Potentially we'll see what happens, but I don't think Tennessee's going to stop recruiting Iverson Garcia, especially since he plays for Powell High School, literally right down the road. We're going to have a couple of his games on Rivalry Thursday this year, so looking forward to that. Again, Powell just continues to churn out defensive linemen at the Power 4 level. Iverson Garcia is going to be the next one. Just feels more comfortable with South Florida. Just feels more comfortable, feels more like home. Obviously, too, a team like South Florida from the AAC, I think they're in the American, right? American Athletic Conference. They weren't a part of no, they didn't go to the Big 12, did they? I just can't even keep up. Cincinnati's obviously in the Big 12. Anyway, South Florida, you view a guy like Iverson Garcia as more of a critical piece to your recruiting class. You have more resources you can allocate to him. I'm not saying this is all about money. I'm just saying there was more. Tennessee wanted him, right? He's a take at Tennessee, still is, okay? But, he would be a member of the class. Whereas at a place like South Florida, he could be like a dude. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a higher level of importance, of value there. Kind of like the tight end, Eccles, that decommitted from Tennessee last year and went and signed with South Florida. Like, it can be a dude. So, again, you look on the recruiting page and you see he's a 3-star and he's like, according to the On3 industry rankings, prospect number 1,243. It's like, we're not losing much. Not losing much at all. But, again, a guy that was just right here in your backyard. And a guy that Rodney Garner really, really likes. So we'll see what happens. Again, I wouldn't close the book on this recruitment, especially because he's, again, right here in the backyard. We'll see what happens. But you can't fault the kid for wanting to do what they want to do, right? They feel more comfortable there. They see a better opportunity there. Go do you, right? We would all do the same. But we'll see what happens there with Iverson Garcia. So what that means is, if you go look at Tennessee's class now, for the class of 2026, Tennessee has now dropped down to 9 commits, okay? 13th nationally. 6th in the SEC. So he didn't take a big hit in the SEC. I think you went from 5 to 6 because you dropped 1 commit. And I think you went from 12th down to 13th total. That blue chip ratio is now at 56% when losing Tyron Evans. And you still have a lot of great pieces in the class. Faison Brandon, who again was on his official visit last weekend. Gabriel Asinda, the offensive tackle that just continues to soar and soar and soar. It just always baffles me. Again, there's a lot of great people that do the evaluations and the rankings, and they work hard. It's a thankless job, right? I mean, no one's ever going to agree with anything those guys put out there. But like, you see one outlet that's so high on a player and then another outlet that doesn't even have him nationally ranked, or vice versa. And again, these things changes all the time, right? I mean, there's a reason why they redo the rankings a couple of times a year, a couple of cycles after camps, after senior seasons, after junior seasons, stuff like that. But like right now, look at Gabriel Asinda. On3 has him and not even ranked nationally, where 247 has him ranked 19th in the country and a 5-star, right? So, I mean, it's just wild, right? I mean, obviously, he's going to be a good prospect. He's like a mountain that can move, and that's Gabriel Asinda. So, looking forward to seeing what he turns out to. I mean, he and Faison are kind of the headliners of this class. Tyree King is right there as well. Again, here's another example right here. On3 has Tyree King at number 75 nationally. 247 doesn't have Tyree King ranked at all. You know what I'm saying? So, like, outside of its top 247 or whatever, their cutoff is. So, again, it's just kind of depending on where you look. But Tyree King, highly rated guy. You got Zach Groves, the edge rusher, that's in this class already at 240 pounds. Carson Snead is in this class, but a lot of chatter there about North Carolina, Florida, some other programs there. KJ McClain, Tennessee picked up his commitments last week. The 3-star safety from New Jersey, KJ Edwards, from New Jersey as well, picked up his commitment. That was a while ago, though. He's an edge player that they really, really like. Kind of one of those guys that is underranked right now, but 6'5", 215, can put on some really, really good weight. He had his official visit here last weekend. Braylon Outlaw, 3-star linebacker commit. He's been committed for a while. And then, of course, Luke Thompson, who took his OV here to Tennessee 2 weekends ago, but committed last Saturday. In-state prospect, a safety from Franklin, Tennessee, of Vol legacy. So Tennessee's got some work to do. Don't get me wrong. And again, to those people that talk about, well, you need more 4-stars, you need more 5-stars, you need more 4-stars and all that. Well, like this weekend, again, just to name 5, Savion Hider, Craig Tutt, Brayden Rouse, Hezekiah Harris, Brandon Anderson. I mean, those are just 5 that's going to be here this weekend to go along with the ones that were here last weekend and the ones that were here before that. You got to win some of these big boy battles for sure. Tennessee is not only in it, Tennessee is, a top contender. Tennessee is a finalist, top two teams for a number of these players. You got to get past the finish line with several of them, okay? You've got to get past the finish line with several of them, and we'll see what this weekend can do in terms of, a massive OV weekend. See if you can make up ground for losing Tyron Evans, for not getting the commit of Iverson Garcia, so on and so forth. Recruiting never stops. It's a big recruiting weekend. There's a lot of recruiting talk right here on Locked On Vols. Let's take a look at future rankings. Which teams in the country are set up for the most success for not only this season, but next season as well? ESPN did their future rankings, updated their future rankings, and hey, Tennessee Volunteers, a top 10 team. Where does Tennessee rank and why? That's coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. ESPN put out its college football future power rankings a couple of days ago, again over at ESPN.com. And, they used to do a 3-year projection, but based on the transfer portal, it doesn't necessarily make that, relevant anymore, or does it really make much sense anymore to project 3 years out? So with these updated college football future power rankings, it's taking into account the 2025 and 2026 season, which teams are set up for the most success the next 2 football seasons in the country. Really just kind of a snapshot of what's going on in terms of the program and the overall health. What they took into account in these rankings were returning quarterback, likelihood of a multi-year quarterback on roster, offensive line and defensive line outlook, roster management, star power, which includes All-Americans, national award contenders, all-conference contenders, and then coaching staff. And so you kind of weight those out there equally, or not equally, but kind of, put those in there, and then you come up with your rankings weighted on those specific metrics. Where does Tennessee fall in these future rankings, power rankings per ESPN.com? Tennessee comes in there at number 9, and I'm not going to lie to you, I was kind of surprised. I thought if I was doing this, I would weigh returning quarterback and likelihood of a multi-year starting quarterback a whole lot more than the rest of the pack. I would value that more than the offensive line, defensive line outlook, roster management. And those are all important. Those are definitely important, coaching staff and all that. But I would value the quarterback metrics way more. And again, Tennessee obviously lost Nico the last day of spring practice, and you don't really know what you have at quarterback right now. You just don't. Just a lot of improvements. So I thought Tennessee would be ranked a little lower, like maybe mid-teens. Tennessee comes in there at number 9. How about that? Previous future power ranking had Tennessee at number 13. So the last time ESPN.com did this exercise, Tennessee was ranked 4 spots lower. Tennessee's in the top 10 at number 9 right now. I'm going to read what it put under all these different categories here. It says a lot of good things about Tennessee. It says returning quarterback, quote, surprisingly no. Nico Iamaleava's stunning departure at the end of spring practice dramatically altered Tennessee's plans at quarterback. Iamaleava was only a sophomore and conceivably could have led the offense through at least 2026. He could, but the plan always for Iamaleava was 3 and get out. Instead, Tennessee had to scramble for a replacement in the in the spring portal. You go down to likelihood of a multi-year quarterback. It says highly unlikely. Again, this is reasons why I'm surprised Tennessee's ranked so high. It says after making runs at several established Power 4 quarterbacks, Tennessee added Joey Aguilar in the what was essentially a quarterback swap with UCLA. Aguilar went through spring with the Bruins after transferring in from Appalachian State, and 2 3,000-yard passing seasons. He's a senior, so Tennessee will need a new starter in 2026, possibly redshirt freshman Jake Merklinger or incoming freshman George McIntyre. They don't mention this, but Faison Brandon could also be in that conversation. Or they also are under the assumption here that Joey Aguilar is going to be the starting quarterback. I'm under that assumption too, don't get me wrong, but Jake Merklinger could start this year. He could start some of this year. And then he could be a returning starting quarterback for the Volunteers for the 2026 season, potentially. So there's some wiggle room in there as well. You go down to offensive line, defensive line outlook. It says Tennessee not only will have a new quarterback, but a largely new offensive line blocking for him. Cooper Mays and several other interior line mainstays are gone as the Vols build around tackle Lance Hurd with transfers Sam Pendleton and Wendell Moy. Other returners that will be taking on bigger roles, along with the addition of decorated incoming freshman David Sanders Jr. There will be others that step up around David Sanders Jr. There are fewer questions on the defensive line, despite James Pierce Jr.'s exit to the NFL. Tennessee returned senior tackles Bryson Eason, Jackson Moy, senior edge rusher Joshua Josephs, who had a team-high 3 forced fumbles in 2024, also had a team-high 9.5 TFLs. Dominic Bailey and Tyree West add depth at the end spot after combining for 4 sacks a season ago. Yeah, lot to replace on the offensive line, though I still think in pass pro situations they can be better because Lance Hurd was hurt and playing 20 pounds overweight, not in shape. That was one of your tackles. And then your other tackles were whatchamacallit? Dane Davis and John Campbell. There you go. Yeah, John Campbell. John Campbell was playing on one knee. He was hurt. He couldn't even get through 40 or 50% of the games. Then you had Dane Davis over there. So it was a revolving door. Just not a very good tackle situation overall from a health standpoint for Tennessee last year. So from a pass pro standpoint, I think Tennessee's going to be so much better, significantly better this year. And I have no issues whatsoever about the defensive line. Under roster management, it said Iamaleava's departure was jarring and creates more doubt about a Tennessee team that reached the CFP last fall but loses 4 players to the NFL draft and other key contributors. Vols didn't do a ton in the portal other than their offensive line additions, grabbing running back Star Thomas, a productive transfer from Duke. Tennessee lost a number of defensive contributors to other Power 4 programs. A number, that's a stretch. They lost some. I'm not gonna sit here and act like they didn't. They lost some, but several or a number. I mean, I guess a number's not. The way they wrote this was a stretch, in my opinion. As well as Squirrel White and other wide receivers. Now that one is not a stretch. Colorado transfer Colton Hood is a nice pickup for the secondary. The Vols retained standout cornerback Jermon McCoy, linebacker Arian Carter, another on defense, a productive tight end in Miles Kitzelman, and several key wideouts. And Brazel and Mike Matthews, sure, and Braylon Staley. I mean, yeah, they were retained. Not a lot of production there. Tennessee is recruiting well with top 15 classes in 2024 and 2025 and ranks number 18 according to ESPN for 2026. So that's under roster management. Star Power says McCoy earned second-team All-SEC honors last season after sharing the team lead with 4 interceptions. He was also an All-American and a first-team All-SEC by another publication. While adding a forced fumble, Carter, Josephs, and returning defenders should be all-conference contenders. Coach Josh Heupel's offense creates opportunities for stardom, which should help Aguilar, Thomas, and the returning receivers and other backs like sophomore Deshaun Bishop and Peyton Lewis. Mo is a second-team All-Pac-12 selection in Arizona in 2023. They're putting a lot of weight on Star Thomas in this article. I mean, I hope he plays. I think that he's a great addition. Don't get me wrong. I have a number 3 in line at running back. I have a Deshaun Bishop, Peyton Lewis, kind of 1A, 1B situation, then Star Thomas. I think Deshaun Bishop and Peyton Lewis are going to be leading that running back room, and then it's Star Thomas behind them, so we'll have to see. And then it says in coaching staff, after leading Tennessee to its first playoff appearance, Heupel has exceeded most outside expectations, no duh. With a 37-15 record at Knoxville, he brings back primary coordinators Tim Banks, Joey Halsley, while also making a few changes to the group of position coaches. He made one change to the position coaches, but he made a lot of additions, as we spoke on in yesterday's show with Caleb Jarrow, to his support staff. So anyway, you take all those into consideration, and ESPN has Tennessee for these future rankings, really taking into account 2025 and 2026, those seasons, up 4 spots from number 13 to number 9. Not bad. Who's in front of Tennessee? Well, real quick, directly behind Tennessee is Alabama. How about that? Number 8 is LSU. Number 7 is Clemson. Number 6 is Penn State. Number 5 is Notre Dame. Number 4 is Oregon. Number 3 is Georgia. Number 2 is Ohio State. And number 1 is Texas. Just out of curiosity, we'll do some of these teams in the teens here. 11 is Miami. Number 12 is Arizona State. Arizona State. Number 13 is Michigan. Number 14 is SMU. Number 15 is Florida. That's a big one. Number 16 is Ole Miss. Number 17 is Illinois. Number 18 is South Carolina. Number 19 is Iowa State. Number 20 is Indiana. We'll do the top 25 and call it quits there. Kansas State, number 21. Missouri, number 22. Iowa, number 23. Louisville, number 24. And BYU coming in at number 25. Thought that was interesting, again, because I thought Tennessee would probably be ranked a little bit lower because of the quarterback situation. But the roster, again, I continue to say the roster's good. I like this roster. People are trying to compare this offseason to the 2021 offseason. I've done it a time or two in terms of questions and unprovens and so many questions. There are a ton of questions right now. But the key difference in Josh Heupel's first offseason here at Tennessee, not true offseason, but when he got the job in the months leading into the season, and the offseason right now, is this roster is 10 times better than the roster he inherited. No doubt. Depth perspective, athleticism, all-conference potential, All-American potential, NFL draft makeup potential, right? This roster is 10 times better than the roster he inherited. So I do think that's a big reason as well why Tennessee is set up for future success. All right, that is going to do it here for today's edition of Locked On Vols here on your Friday morning. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for joining us. Making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single weekend. We'll come back on Monday's show, highlight some of the key people who were here on campus. What did they say about their visits? What's going on with Tennessee baseball and the transfer portal? Any movement over the weekend? And the latest in the college football playoff discussion in terms of the seeding and the format. What's that going to look like? All that and more coming up next week on Locked On Vols. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Stay safe. Hope you enjoyed your kickoff, your tailgate to the weekend right here on your Friday, Locked On Vols.